Hey guys, welcome to another lecture in the series of Precalculus. Today we'll be going over absolute values. You might have heard about absolute values before, but I'm going to make it real easy to understand what an absolute value is. So an absolute value is given some variable x is equal to, let's say, 10. And if you were to take the line graph of 10, so let's say this is 0, this is 5, and this is 10, and this is negative 5, and this is negative 10. So x, say this is x, um, x at 10 is how far away from 0. So x at 10 is 10 away from 0. That's what absolute value means. The absolute value is the distance of the value from 0. So imagine if you had, let me change the colors back to yellow, x is equal to minus 5. So x is here now. What is the absolute value of x? So if the absolute value of 10 is 10 away from 0, the absolute value is how far is 5 away, minus 5 away from 0? It's 5. So the absolute value, once again, is simply the distance between the value and 0. And the absolute value of 0 is 0. So how do we write absolute value? So absolute value is written as barred. So this is bars all around it. And these pipes represent absolute value. So the absolute value of x is equal to 10 in the case of 1. And if, let's just use another variable here to make it a little more clearer. Let's say this is y, so some arbitrary variable y, and the absolute value of y is equal to 5. That's how far is the distance away from 0. And if you had the absolute value of 0, this is simply 0. So the absolute value, it's key to remember that the absolute value is always a positive number. So that's the key takeaway. So let's go over some examples in solving some equations using absolute values. So let's do 5 plus the absolute value of x is equal to 8. So how do we solve this? Just like we'd solve anything else. So we'd move the 5 over, so it becomes 8 minus 5, absolute value of x, and this is 3, absolute value of x. So here, absolute value can be, well, -3 or +3. Because if you have 3, 0, and -3, going this way is 3, and going this way is 3. So you actually get two solutions. So you get two solutions with absolute value problems. So x can be either 3 or x can be -3, because the absolute value of that gives you 3, the distance from the value to 0, or 0 to the value. And sometimes we can also write this as plus minus 3 concisely. So let's do another example. Let's do -4 absolute value of x equals -20. So what do? We divide -4. So we get -20 over -4. And this is equal to 5. And so the absolute value of x is equal to 5. So what's x equal to? So x is equal to plus minus 5, because it can be either or. Let's do another example. So this means that there are two solutions. So if you treat this as just one whole thing, like absolute value of x, we can see that this means that there are two possible x's. There's the positive version, equals 7, and then there's some negative version, equals 7. So let's solve for these now and see what x equals. You'll get two solutions at the end regardless. So you get 2x plus 8 is equal to x, and then you divide that by 2, you get x is equal to 4. That's one solution. And then on this side, let's distribute out the minus sign. So you get plus 1, 7, and let's minus the 1. So you get 6, and you get minus 2x. And if we divide 6 by minus 2, we get x is equal to minus 3. So look at that. It's not always the case. It's just plus minus of the exact same answer. So that's another example. Let's take a trickier example here. A slightly trickier example here. So let me scroll down just a little bit. Not sure what that one dot's doing right there. Let's get rid of that. And let's do a slightly trickier example. So let's do 7 plus 2x minus 5 is equal to 4. So notice that the absolute value is not alone. So what do we do? So we would go about this by simply subtracting the 7. So we get 2x minus 5 is equal to minus 3. Now let's take a moment and think about it. What does it mean to have an absolute value? It means that at some value from 0, which is 2x minus 5, and some value minus 2x minus 5, the distance between those is minus 3. Take a moment and think about it. It's minus 3. Is that possible? Is it possible to have minus 3 as a distance? No, it's not. Simply from that, by definition, an absolute value has to be positive. So it means the right-hand side has to be positive. So there's no way this will ever be equal. So there is no solution. An absolute value must be positive because there is no negative distance. So those are some examples of absolute values, and I will leave more problems in the description as per usual. And if you liked and enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a little thumbs up for me. And if there's anything I can improve on or any topics that you would like help with, definitely toss it in and I will definitely make a future video on it. That's it for now. I'll catch you guys in the next one.